The title of today's His Story is My Latter Shall Be Greater. Brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before. I was a beautiful, bouncing baby boy with all of God's grace in my little face. I know I was graced by God because I was baby number 5 for my mom and dad. I had plenty of siblings to play and grow with. Growing up, I was always a good little boy, a bit shy and very timid. Trouble was not my thing. I was so shy that whenever we had company, I would run to hide under the bed. Actually, I never even had to see who was at the door. I ran for cover at the sound of the doorbell. I had great parents. My father was an officer in the United States Coast Guard, and my mom worked various jobs. We lived well and rarely wanted for anything. My parents managed our family well. We kids were their everything. They wanted to ensure that we had the best start in life, knowing that if we had a good foundation, we would have a chance to live great lives. My siblings and I grew up pretty close. I was especially close to my sister. We were only 15 months apart, and we were frequently mistaken for twins. When I was about 5 years old, my mom had me a little brother. My reign as the baby was over. My father was from Delaware, so every year my parents, all of my siblings and I squeezed into the family van headed to see my father's people. These times with family were especially special to me because our family was spending time together, bonding moments that would become precious memories for later days. As I got older, I realized that my parents were doing all they could to sustain our family unit. They were doing what they felt was necessary, but the truth of the matter is they were no longer compatible. They were growing apart, although each was trying to hold on for as long as they could. As I got older, my mom made the decision to stay in Chesapeake so that each of us could graduate from the same high school. My father couldn't stay in just one place. The Coast Guard decided when and where he would stay. He traveled throughout the country, but always came to visit us at least every other weekend. My father made sure that financially, my mother had everything she needed. He made sure that we had everything we needed. But for me, it was difficult because what I needed was him. I needed my father's presence in my life, and I needed it more than every other weekend. This new arrangement wasn't easy for any of us. I could feel that my mom wasn't happy. Despite the fact that my parents had really given it their best, I couldn't help but wonder if they felt that they had failed us. Growing up in Chesapeake had its own social challenges, and it didn't help that we were such a large family. A lot of people would look at our lives and assume they knew how we were as a family, but they didn't. We became used to the names that we were called, like the Brady Bunch or the Cosby Kids. Sure, whatever. I didn't let that stuff bother me. I was number 5 in the bunch, so by the time whatever was going on got down to me, it had lost its shine. I was timid and shy, remember? Well, it certainly didn't go away with age. The older I got, I stayed the same. I was not one for trouble, and if I wasn't hanging with my cousins, you could find me in my grandma's room hanging with her. My grandma was my protector. She made sure that absolutely no hurt, harm, or danger came near my precious head. Only the good Lord himself could have protected me any better. My grandma lived with us. I was definitely her favorite, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think she really cared for my other siblings. Not to toot my own horn. My grandma and I were kindred spirits. We were close to one another. I was special to her, and she was special to me. We had so much fun together. We got each other, understood each other for real. I loved being around her because she was comforting to my sensitive heart and my timid soul. My grandmother was a country woman. She had been born in South Carolina, and when she spoke, you could hear the heaviness of her southern roots. Through her voice, you could hear the strength of every victory that she had gained from living in the deep South. She was no ordinary weak woman. My grandma was power. She would watch my sister and me when no other adults were home, and no matter what was happening, she could calm every nerve within me. I would sit quietly in her room and listen as she would hum and tap her feet. She was energetically calling something forth in me, but I didn't understand it then. I didn't know my grandma in her younger, stronger years. I'd only come to know her when she was elderly and had suffered a stroke. In December 2003, the Lord called my grandma home. I loved her. Her humming and tapping had planted a seed in me that would bring a harvest of unknown proportions. As a child, I had no idea of the gift I had. I would walk through the house singing in my loudest operatic voice, and nobody paid me any mind. Didn't they think it was strange that I was only a child, but I sounded like Luther Vandross? Singing was my thing. When I was about 13 years old, I heard a guy singing. The tune was familiar, so I joined in. He was amazed at my voice, and I was amazed at his. We became good friends, and I would hang out with his family because everybody in his family had some sort of musical ability. His mother was a music director for a small church and invited me to sing with them. They taught me so much, not just about music, but also about God. My whole life changed when I went with them to an event called Acquire the Fire. It was a 3-day event, but I will never forget the moment when I gave my life to Christ. I felt so amazing. If only I had my family there supporting me. I became more involved in church, and we stayed busy traveling around and singing at different churches. My parents never really acknowledged my voice as anything out of the ordinary, so I didn't think of it as anything out of the ordinary either. When I told them that I was going to be singing the national anthem at my high school's football game, they were in shock. My father called everybody together and demanded that I sing it for the whole family. I did. They were in shock. It was as if, for the first time, their ears opened up and they could hear my voice. Soon after that, there was a play being put on by the drama team. I wanted to audition so badly, but I was too afraid. I mustered up the courage to audition and was granted one of the leading roles. Now, my own ears have opened up and I can hear my own voice. While working at Wendy's and still in high school, I met a group of guys who would come in regularly after rehearsals at their church across the street. I told them that I played the trombone and that I was actually very good at it. I was first chair in the band, in every band that I played in. They wanted me to sing, but I was offering to play my trombone. I eventually went to their rehearsal, and after that, I went to a Wednesday night Bible study communion service. And to my absolute surprise, the minister of music called me from the audience to sing. He put me on the spot. I couldn't say no. I sang, "Holy, Holy, Holy," and they loved it. I continued to attend the rehearsals twice a week, and I became pretty popular very quickly at this church. This was a great church, but I didn't feel that I was being challenged or developed spiritually. I didn't feel that I could be myself. I needed to grow. I wanted to grow. I had a dream of being a singer, performer, and I wanted to chase that dream, but all of the what ifs I had in my head, coupled with the feeling of timidity, kept me from the places I wanted to go with my gift. I was afraid of the fame. What if I make it big? Then what? What if they want me to leave everything behind? Then what? All of the what ifs made me feel afraid. I kept auditioning for things, and one day I heard that American Idol was coming to Virginia Beach. Once again, I mustered up my courage and I auditioned. They loved my voice, but chose not to advance me to the show. Okay, but at least I'm stepping out of fear into possibility. I auditioned for the local show called the Hampton Roads Idol and made it to the top 3 finalists, but wasn't selected. Okay, but at least I'm stepping out of fear into possibility. Keep going, keep going. In 2005, my health started to take a turn, and no one could put a finger on what exactly was happening. I had moments where I couldn't hold anything down. I began to lose a drastic amount of weight. I knew something was wrong because I had always been a large guy. I didn't have an appetite, and whatever I ate, I would vomit up just hours later. This went on for many months as I developed ulcers. I started losing my breath and just being tired overall. One day, I went into the emergency room because I had pain in my legs. After they ran all types of tests, the doctors determined that I had deep vein thrombosis, a blood clot, and finally came to a conclusion as to why I had been going through all of this. I was diagnosed with cardiomyopathy, which is an enlarged, weakened heart. I was so weak at that moment, but I was so relieved that I finally found out and could move on with treatment. I took a lot of time off from my job, and after months of medications and treatment, I regained my strength and was able to continue living my life. I definitely had a new lease on life and a different way of looking at things. I was totally grateful. God has always given me everything that I need, and He has allowed me to cross paths with great people, people that have helped shape me and mold who I am today. I've done well to recognize and keep those individuals in my corner. While singing in the church choir, I met many people, and many of them are still lifelong friends. One person in particular that I grew close with would recognize my gifts and push me to do so much more. She would host these fine parties, whether it was for herself or one of her friends, and she would invite me to come and sing as a special guest. I felt honored. I went on to be friends with her daughter, and I just completely adored her mother. They have always loved me as their own family, and I have sang at all of the family weddings. What I didn't know was that in January 2019, I would be joining a new church and music team where she is the executive pastor and leading lady. I'm not one who has been churched my whole life. My family never went and still are not big on going to church. When I first came to West End, I was still singing for churches, but the check was the only reason I was there. I couldn't seem to grow, nor did I feel I could be my authentic self. But being under these teachings with Bishop and LL, not only that, being around people like Jarrell, Deandra, and Nikki has pushed me to want to show the world who I am. I am thankful for the opportunity to be a part of this ministry. I am being pushed daily to grow, and it feels good. Things are happening. God is moving. I may not have acquired all that I want yet, but I feel that I am in the right place and I'm moving in the right direction. The decisions I have made in life have led me to where I am now. I regret nothing. I am so very grateful for my life, and now I know that there is nothing that I cannot do. My latter shall be greater than my former. I am pressing toward the mark. I am Cameron Mitchell Harvey.
sent his son. They called him Jesus. He came to love, heal, and forget. He bled and died to buy my pardon. An empty grave is there to prove my Savior lives. Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fear is gone. Because I know, he holds my future. And life is worth the living just because he lived. Oh, and then one day I'll cross that river and find life's final with pain and death gives way to victory. I'll see the light of glory, and I'll know my Savior reigns. Oh yes, because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fear is gone. Because I know, he holds my future. And life is worth the living just because my Savior lives. Come on and put your hands together. Because he lives, oh, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, oh, all fear is gone. Because I know, he holds my future. And life is worth the living just because he lives. Oh, because he lives. He lives. All my fear, all my doubt, and insecurities are gone because I know my future. And life is worth the living just because he lives. He lives in me, yes he does. And life is worth the living because my Savior lives. He lives in you and I. He lives, yeah. Life is worth the living just because